On Tech News Today, Xerox PARC demonstrates a secure chip that explodes on demand. Elon Musk unveils his latest vehicle interior. This one flies into space. And China is shocked to be accused of hacking. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CacheFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Friday, September 11th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. Are you hiring? With ZipRecruiter.com, you can post to 100-plus job sites, including social networks, all with a single click. Screen, rate, and hire the right candidates fast. Try ZipRecruiter with a free 4-day trial now at ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. My name is Mike Elgan. Our co-anchor today is the Next Web reporter, Lauren Hockenson. Welcome to the show, Lauren.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Thank you for coming on. Now, for some reason, you're in New York City. You're normally in San Francisco, but we're glad to have you. Christina Warren is off today, and so we're glad to have yet another person coming in from New York.
Yes, thank you so much. I'm going to try my best to imitate. I'll put the headphones.
Yes,
Christina's headphones.
The secret to imitating Christina Warren is you have to talk at double speed and just rattle off an alarming number of facts that are all relevant to the discussion. So good luck with that. I'm just going to imitate myself. All right, so let's jump into the news. Recode is reporting that Google and Twitter are partnering to offer an alternative to Facebook's Instant Articles feature. If you recall, Facebook's Instant Articles enables select publishers to post stories natively on Facebook, complete with their own page designs and layouts. Tapping on such an article in the Facebook mobile app brings up instantly because it has already loaded in the background. So the Google and Twitter version launches in the fall, according to Recode, but when the articles are from select publishers are tapped on, either in Google search or on Twitter, they'll appear instantly because the publisher's pages will be cached, along with the ads appearing on those pages. And unlike Facebook's feature, the Google and Twitter version will be open source. Lauren, this sounds pretty cool, and it sounds like it's better for publishers because they don't have to do anything. Just all they have to do is, I guess, establish some kind of partnership with Google and Twitter, and then their pages get cached. So that's one aspect that's interesting, the open source nature of it. And the other is the fact that Google and Twitter are working together.
Yeah, I mean, it's particularly interesting, especially when you think about the race to providing news stories to a specific audience. I believe that studies show that Facebook and Twitter are actually still pretty neck and neck when it comes to users reading news on those platforms. And this really might be the opportunity for Twitter and also Google to gain the edge by providing something that's open source and allowing people to sort of connect directly with Google and Twitter into what I would believe to be putting that code where it needs to go so things can load instantly right within the platform.
And this will also helpfully nudge along the ever-present rumors that Google might buy Twitter. I still don't think it's going to happen. It is interesting that they're getting along so well. And I kind of wish they would just go ahead and buy Twitter because, you know, it's just lunch money for Google, and it would end a lot of speculation about the problems that Twitter's been having. It would end a lot of speculation about what Google plans to do with Google+. I don't know if they would be merged. I don't know what they would do, but once again, all that is just speculation. It's probably not going to happen, and it is interesting that they're working together. And, you know, anything that makes journalism faster, I guess, is a good thing. We got some more news for you coming right up, and you're going to want to stick around for some of this stuff. It's some pretty crazy video we're going to show you, and also some pretty interesting news. But first, let's talk about ZipRecruiter, our sponsor today. This show is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. And, of course, ZipRecruiter is well known as the place where you can post to 100-plus job sites with a single click. But there's so much more to ZipRecruiter. They have built-in social recruiting, so you can post to social networks like Facebook, Google+, Twitter, etc. You can search their massive resume database. As of this morning, they have 6,198,663 resumes in it. It's just ginormous. And, of course, all that is there for you to search. You know, ZipRecruiter is mobile optimized. And, of course, lots of job applicants these days are just doing the whole job hunting thing with their mobile device. And you want to be optimized for that. And ZipRecruiter just makes that happen automatically. ZipRecruiter offers custom branding. You can add multiple users to your account. You can use their embeddable job widget. You can set up your own careers page with your own company branding on their site. You can use team collaboration, create custom email responses. There's so many great features for hiring people. They just make the whole process powerful, quick, easy, and most importantly, they will lead you to the perfect candidate for every single job you have. We got a testimonial from a user named Stephanie, who said, ZipRecruiter is affordable and easy to use. I can write, edit, and change out my job openings very easily. When I've had questions, their customer service team has been outstanding, patient and knowledgeable. I've done a ton of hiring already via Zip. She's on a nickname basis with ZipRecruiter, and intend to continue doing so. So that is a testimonial from ZipRecruiter. And of course, we use ZipRecruiter here at Twit. We don't call it Zip, though. Maybe we should. Let's start calling it Zip. I like that. But today you can try ZipRecruiter for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. That's ZipRecruiter.com/TNT. And we thank ZipRecruiter for their support of Tech News Today. Well, yeah. China today slammed the United States for what they called, quote, groundless attacks, unquote, against China for hacking. The White House recently suggested that they would apply sanctions against Chinese companies for hacking American companies. Corey Bennett wrote about the news for The Hill and joins us now. Welcome to the show, Corey.
Hey, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks, and thanks for coming on. Now, I assume this was prompted by National Intelligence Director James Clapper's comments to the House Intelligence Committee yesterday. What did he say about Chinese hacking?
Basically, Clapper said what a lot of administration officials have said, but it was in a very prominent setting yesterday at a rare open House Intelligence Committee hearing. But basically, he said, you know, Chinese hackers are coming. They're getting worse. They are targeting all sectors of the U.S. economy. They're targeting the U.S. government. Basically, he said it is a blanket attack, and it's only going to get worse unless the U.S. does something to bolster its own cyber defenses in response. Now, again, this is not necessarily news to those who follow the issue, but having it in that prominent setting in a House hearing definitely irks the Chinese.
So, Corey, it's really interesting. China is really known for doing a lot of grandstanding, especially in its press, especially when condemning the United States for something like saying hacking. And of course, they're saying that it doesn't exist and they don't do it. Obviously, China is this, you know, then saving face, or are they trying to redirect or misdirect their own public into what's actually going on?
It's pretty much the standard line that the Chinese take. Every time something happens where the U.S. government either privately or publicly accuses or indicates that China is behind it, China always insists that they are actually one of the #1 victims of hacking worldwide, which is true. And they always insist that they do not support state-sponsored hacking. Now, we're getting into a gray area there, right? A lot of the cyber espionage, or particularly intellectual property theft that goes on from China to the U.S. is perhaps not necessarily through the government itself. There are a lot of Chinese companies that engage in this, but they do have ties to the Chinese government, and it's very hard to unpack those ties to determine who exactly directed what, to know who exactly had their fingers on the keyboard, which is why it's been very hard, I think, for the Obama administration to specifically point the finger at certain people. You've seen them try. Last year, they indicted 5 members of the Chinese military for hacking U.S. companies. And as Mike mentioned, it's expected that in the coming weeks, whether before or after the Chinese president's upcoming state visit, that the U.S. will impose some economic sanctions on more Chinese companies for hacking the private sector in the U.S.
And this is part of a new policy of sort of a threat of retaliation for hacking that was publicly announced, I don't know, 2 or 3 months ago. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Hong Lei said that the alternative to U.S. accusations is sort of a joint effort with the United States to fight all this hacking that's going on somewhere else, not by the United States and not by China. How likely is such a partnership or such a program to fight hacking between the U.S. and China?
You know, it's tough. The U.S. and China have had joint working groups before on these issues. That was ended when as I mentioned, when the U.S. indicted those 5 members of the military. Chinese pulled out of that joint working group. But more broadly, you know, the U.S. is trying to establish international norms in cyberspace and to work with its allies to help them in that endeavor. The issue being, both the US and China are open to this dialogue, right? But the two sides have very different concepts of how cyberspace, how countries should be able to interact in cyberspace, what they should be able to do. China believes very much in the concept of what they call cyber sovereignty, where they should be able to dictate the rules about how the internet is controlled within their boundaries, how companies that operate in China, they should be, excuse me, they have differences of opinion on how the government should be able to tell companies what to do if they're operating within their own boundaries. We've seen that very recently. China has a slate of laws, banking technology laws, counterterrorism laws, a national security law, all of which critics say are meant to put further restraints and controls on the technology and the data that is flowing within companies operating within China. That's just kind of an inherent difference between how the US and China view cyberspace. And it's hard to believe that those kind of very inherent differences could be resolved in some sort of middle ground on these international norms that China has been speaking about this week.
So I think it's pretty interesting, as I read through Chinese industry and new companies, particularly one that has caught my eye is, I believe it's pronounced Didi Kawadi, the Uber for China, and their influence in sort of investing in Lyft. And there's been all of these interactions between U.S. companies and Chinese companies. And when something like hacking comes up, and when it comes to state-sponsored hacking of private companies, as has been accused, what does this do for company relations overall? Does it have any impact on the private sector and how the private sector does business with each other?
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that everyone tells me when I talk to people is that when the U.S. government tries to accuse China of hacking or threatens sanctions or threatens to just take a more hardline approach, the people that really suffer are the private sector companies that are operating in China, are those business relationships. As I mentioned before, a lot of those the counterterrorism laws, the national security laws, a lot of those, the people that will be hit are the companies themselves. It'll make it harder, they say, to do business within China. They will favor domestic companies. And that's why you see a lot of these, like you said, the Uber for China. There's also the Twitter for China, the Google for China. It ends up favoring those companies, makes it harder for foreign companies to do business, to have relationships with Chinese companies, and to operate within China's borders.
Very interesting. Corey Bennett is at thehill.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Corey_Bennett. Corey, thank you so much for coming on Tech News Today.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right. Facebook now offers its Mentions app to verified journalists. And this is really interesting because, of course, one of the features that it recently gained is the ability to do live streaming, kind of like Meerkat or Periscope, but on Facebook. And now journalists can do that. And I think that Facebook is hoping that journalists will do that as an alternative to using one of the other services to actually do journalism, to do a little mini show. It also, this Mentions app, which is, by the way, just for iOS for now, also lets journalists do things like find out where they're mentioned on Facebook. Lauren, I think that one of the reasons that journalists might like this feature is because Facebook's search feature is terrible. It doesn't let you search for actual content on Facebook. Other services like Twitter or Google Plus, you just search and you can find when you've been mentioned. In the case of Facebook, only journalists and other verified users get to search for themselves. It's kind of a weird thing, but do you think that this is an attempt to sort of like shamelessly lure journalists away from Twitter, which of course journalists love?
Oh, absolutely. I think that Facebook's been trying really hard to create this sort of one-to-many communication. I mean, you see it with personal pages, right? And the reason why they started Mentions with somebody like The Rock handing out like kisses and high fives to fans while live streaming. I think that what Facebook is trying to do is trying to recapture sort of that aspect of its business, that personality promotion and that, personal page, and being able to live stream with your audience and to create a new interaction capability with your subscribers, provided that they know who you are and have searched for you already and are already following you. It could possibly be, I guess, another alternative to the many, as you said, live streaming apps that already exist.
And it's become, you know, very quickly since Meerkat, live streaming has gone from a very rare and apparently difficult thing to do. Now it's a banality, and everybody can do it just about on multiple services. Hardly anybody does do it. I don't think this is a mainstream everyday use for a phone, for example, like posting selfies or whatever. But this is also part of a larger trend that I'm constantly whining about, which is that companies like Facebook are creating a class system on the internet where you know, famous people and important people get one set of tools and features, and the riffraff get another set of tools and features, and it bugs me, and I think it should bug everybody that they do that sort of thing. But that's just, you know, that's just me. I remember when the internet was like everybody had the same tools and features.
Yeah, I think that this is two sides of the same coin. What you see with something like Meerkat or Periscope in its sort of democratization of these tools where anybody can pick up and live stream in about 5 minutes flat, you know, it presents this sort of argument, right, that says if you have a bunch of people able to access these tools, you know, how does it affect the quality of the streams overall? If you talk to some people, they will say that having the product be open and the platform be open can sort of negatively affect the overall quality of the streams and of the content. On the other hand, you have what Facebook is doing, which is saying we have official users, we have you know, verified journalists, we have people who are on the ground and who can be trusted or who you want to follow. And so in theory, that should yield much more high quality broadcasts. But also it means that they might be infrequent and they might also be missing out on, you know, important things. Absolutely.
We told you yesterday about Google's new version of Google Wallet, which is for transferring money. Later in the day, Google rolled out its new Android Pay, which is an NFC-centric feature for buying stuff in stores and carrying electronic versions of loyalty cards. I think this is a great feature. I don't know that Google will succeed with this. They have trouble communicating clearly exactly what this is and why you would want to use this compared to, say, Apple with Apple Pay. But it's great that they're doing this, and hopefully lots of people will use this in the future. We got some Google some product update news. Google has targeted 3 more cities to bring into the fiber fold. So the lucky winners will likely be Irvine, California, Louisville, Kentucky, and San Diego, California. Yeah, San Diego is a terrible place to live with all that sunshine and beaches, and now they're going to have fast internet.
You know, Mike, I think that that's pretty interesting, actually. The fact that Google is really targeting cities that are a lot smaller and not necessarily known for their tech scene. Obviously, San Diego has a huge biomedical engineering community, and there are some tech outlets out there. As you know, some tech companies do like that horrible, terrible, awful sunshine. I don't know what it looks like, but I hear it's awful.
Right. It is terrible.
But I wonder, you know, what do you think? Do you think that this will, you know, inspire more companies to start thinking outside the box and, like, I don't know, move to Louisville?
Yes, I do, actually. It's a fantastic benefit. And you mentioned a lot of tech in San Diego. There's a ton of tech. Qualcomm, for example, the leading mobile chip company is in San Diego, and many others. My son lives in San Diego. But yeah, I do think that that any place that has super fast internet is going to attract more startups than somebody has, you know, some city that has slow internet. And I love the fact that Google does this. Everybody thought it would just be a smattering of cities, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4 cities. And the way they did it was really great. It used to be really, really difficult to lay fiber throughout a city. There would be all this red tape, and the city government would like delay, and, you know, have to spend 2 years going to meetings and begging to do this, that, and the other thing, and dealing with all this stuff. So what Google did was they basically said, oh, you know what, we're going to have this really, really fast, super high-speed thing that's going to bolster the economies of every city we put it in. We're having tryouts. Make it fast. And they got a bunch of cities right off the bat to just line up, get their ducks in a row, and say, you can be digging trenches day after tomorrow. And that's what's kickstarted this whole thing. It was really a great idea.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see how it ultimately affects business, especially tech companies, as they sort of move out of San Francisco or expand other places. Because I don't know if you know this, we're bursting at the seams.
Yeah, yes. Well, iOS 9 will become available next week, but a new feature has shown up in the beta for making Siri work better. We already knew that Siri would be usable hands-free, but the beta reveals that you can train Siri to respond to your voice and nobody else's. I really liked this feature when Google introduced it with the Moto X 2 years ago. Siri's version of this feature will prevent something that actually happened today in a White House press briefing. Here's what happened.
I know you're going to disagree with this analogy in a sense, but there's an expression in sports about a team backing into the playoffs because another team lost. And with having to sustain a filibuster to avoid disapproval from Congress, is the president upset that he couldn't get even one Republican perhaps to sign? Sorry, I'm not sure what you want me to change. Okay, I get it.
And for the record, that was a better answer than the press secretary gave. So it's always a great answer. I don't know what you want me to change.
Yeah, that's super funny, I think, because I've been trying to hands-free use Google now on my boyfriend's Moto X. I try really hard, and you know what? It actually works. The voice recognition actually works, and it's really powerful. And as much as I try to pitch my voice down and try to sound like him, it just doesn't work. And hopefully that'll lead to, I think, a lot more Siri usage, but hopefully a little bit more Siri etiquette. Although you have to admit, it's kind of nice when she interrupts at the most perfect time.
Yeah, I love it. And here's a pro tip for you. Just go in and reprogram it. And so all the phones in the house will respond to your voice and your voice only.
Oh man, that's like a form of terrorism.
Yeah, absolutely. my son goes in and puts his fingerprints into my phone, so it's not inconvenient for him to like get into my phone. So that's
man.
Annoying. Yeah, I'm down to like 1 or 2 fingers with this thing. Well, the app company Tap today released a free version of their popular Camera Plus iOS app. Camera Plus is designed to replace whatever app you use for taking pictures on an iPhone, plus whatever app you use for editing photos. The free app will monetize with the sale of additional filter packs and advanced shooting and editing features. I'm guessing, Lauren, that this is a response to Google Photos, which is a huge benefit and enables very, very simple, although significantly less powerful, photo editing, but free cloud storage and all kinds of stuff like that. It must be more difficult than it used to for them to sell Camera Plus for $2.99.
Absolutely. Not only that, but you have Google. I mean, you have Google Photos, and you have the increased capacity and utilities that are found within Instagram, and you have just a really flooded market. It's very interesting. Mobile photography has boomed over the last couple of years, but what it's really boiling down to is the fact that people are much more willing to use free services and make do with what they have rather than pay premium. I am actually an early user of Camera Plus, and I loved it, but I ultimately found that I wasn't nearly taking enough photos to warrant it, and also I have the infernal 16 gigabyte phone, so I was never going to be able to have enough photos on my camera to even edit them to make them as beautiful as I want before I put them on Instagram. So now it's just like a point, shoot, throw a filter on it, but I'm low maintenance. And so it'll be interesting to see if they actually find an audience that'll be willing to, you know, purchase all of these extras and make it something that is, you know, worth having.
Yeah, and the problem that you have, the 16 gigabyte problem, is something that Google Photos solves, because they have this feature where they know which of your pictures have been automatically backed up to the Google Photo Cloud and which have not. And when you start running out of space on your phone, it pops up a little message and says, hey, would you like us to delete the versions on your phone that are duplicates of the ones you have backed up in the cloud? You just tap a thing and they tell you how to do that, and you can delete them and make some space. So that is a great feature, and of course Apple will be happy to solve that problem as well. Just buy an iPhone 6 Plus and get the really expensive one with all the storage on it. So, well, WeChat in China is adding an extreme new feature in an effort to compete in the hotly contested mobile messaging app race. The feature is called Welidai, and it provides, I probably didn't say that right, folks, and it provides instant loans of up to $31,000 without collateral. If approved, WeChat users can get the money in just a few minutes after applying. WeChat is owned by the Chinese giant Tencent Holdings, and the loan feature is served through WeBank, which was launched in January by Tencent and a smattering of Chinese financial firms. Wow, this is pretty hardball. This competition in the messaging space is so brutal that they're trying to lure you over with promises of $31,000 loans.
Well, not only that, but I mean, you can look at it from the WeChat perspective, but you can also look at it from the Tencent perspective, which is incredibly interesting. I mean, we're here in America. We understand how monopoly works, and it's not just a board game. But what you see in China is that there are these huge companies that are delving into all different kinds of businesses. And now you have Tencent in the loan business, in the banking business. And so it starts to, seem a little bit hinky to us over in the Western world. I'm interested to see exactly what this means in terms of Tencent's power and influence in China and how it affects the companies or the country's economy and also the people who live there.
Yeah, and their economy certainly needs it right now. We have some breaking news. The co-founder and CEO of Cyanogen just announced that Cortana is going to be baked right into Cyanogen. So,
really?
Yeah, really. Isn't that shocking? And so it's going to be the new shiny Cortana, and then you're going to be able to get it on Windows phones and also, Windows 10 phones and also in Cyanogen. That is crazy news. I didn't see that one coming. Well, in news you can lose, if all goes according to plan, Elon Musk's SpaceX will start ferrying astronauts to and from the International Space Station in about 2 years. Yesterday, SpaceX showed off the sleek interior of their Crew Dragon capsule, where the astronauts will ride. The Crew Dragon can carry 7 astronauts at a time, which is more than double the maximum of 3 that the Russian Soyuz capsule can carry. Crew Dragon is designed to land with thrusters instead of splashing down in the ocean. But let's take a look at the interior of this amazing vehicle. It's like a Tesla. So what we're looking at is everything is black or white. Everything looks shiny and nice. There's a round porthole and a bank of screens. I would guess that those are touch displays. Unapologetically what? Plastic. Oh, I don't know about that. But this looks completely different than the the kind of spaceships the government makes, in a nutshell. Yeah. Yeah, it's like the ice shuttle. It looks vaguely like old school Apple-esque.
And also positively Kubrickian.
Yes, doesn't it? Doesn't it? So that looks really cool. Very, very nice. Well, speaking of vehicles, Uber this week started publishing a print magazine that will be distributed in Uber cars. The magazine is called Arriving Now. The publication will be packed with fashion, shopping, trend pieces, and other fluff, as well as Uber propaganda and promotions. Man.
But, Mike, does it have SkyMall?
It should. It absolutely should. They should have acquired SkyMall and just put it right in there. But,
SkyMall or bust. I learned how to read partially with SkyMall, so.
I love those like zombie lawn, ornaments. Those were really nice. Always tempted to buy those. So, go ahead, Lauren.
I'm sorry. They're so awful.
Yeah. Yes, Carol.
They're so bad.
That's the great thing about SkyMall. There's like 5% of it was such stuff that like, oh, I want that. And like 90% of it was like, who would want that?
Yeah, you can have a wine caddy that's shaped like a high-heeled shoe, or your name on the back of an old Yankees seat.
Yeah, right? Weird, very weird. Well, engineers at Xerox PARC have invented a chip that physically destroys itself on command. It's useful for high-security applications, of course. The chip is built on Corning's Gorilla Glass. A tiny resistor heats up the glass until it shatters. In the demo, the self-destructing mechanism is triggered by simply shining a laser on it, but there's a bunch of ways you could trigger this. Here comes the demo. Now pay attention because it happens very, very fast, and this was captured on video by the IDG News Service. Here it comes. There's the laser light. Boom, gone. All right, we're going to see that again, and one more time in regular motion. And exploded. And now here it is in slow motion. I think. No, that was a fast motion. This one's slow motion. Here we go. And boom. Try putting that back together, China. All right. They might be able to do it. I don't know. Well, the word of the day today is lucky. That's actually the code name for the Samsung Galaxy S7. which is expected to hit the market next year. Project Lucky is what they're calling it. The phone will reportedly use Samsung's own Exynos M1 system on a chip, which will probably be called the Exynos 8890. So there it is, Project Lucky. I guess they're relying on luck this time. I don't know. It's kind of an odd name for a phone.
I don't know. Samsung is Korean, and luck is a big deal out there.
Yeah, and 7 is a lucky number almost across the globe, so maybe that's why they did it.
It's true.
Although I think in China, isn't 8 a really lucky number? I don't know.
8 is a really lucky number in China.
Okay.
I remember there were many couples clamoring to get married on August 8th, 2008.
All right. Yeah, I remember that. That's right. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Harry Bejan in San Francisco, California, who posted this picture on Twitter. And it looks like a creative space for doing creative work. Look at that. That's very cool. There's even a Twit logo over there on the left. So a true fan. Love to see it. Show us how you watch or listen to TNT. Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT so we can find it. Lauren Hockenson, what are you working on these days, and how can people follow your work?
Yeah, absolutely. So I write on the Next Web. That is my day job. I am the San Francisco reporter there. You can follow me on Twitter, where I will talk about news, but also about dogs. So if you like those two things, then I am the person for you. I have a podcast that I just started with a friend of mine named Ben Timmons. It's called Nothing Matters. It's available on SoundCloud. That's also No Matters Cast on Twitter. So if you're interested in listening to me chat about Beverly Hills 90210, then that is the podcast for you.
90210. The movie or the show, the ancient show?
The Ancient Show.
Okay.
Absolutely,
Right.
with Shannon Doherty and Jason Priestley. Yes.
Okay, good. Good to know. Good to know. Well, thank you so much for coming on and co-anchoring today, and we'll see you next time we have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Mike.
All right, thank you. Let us know what's on your mind. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. That's 260-868-7469. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on Spotify. You can choose some other way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. If you'd like to help us grow our audience, here's how you can do it. Just post a link to twit.tv/TNT on the social media site of your choice, tag 3 friends, and recommend that they subscribe. You can subscribe to our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com, and you can upvote the stories you'd like to see us cover. You can follow me at Elgan.com, and also don't miss our other news show, Tech News Tonight, at 4 p.m. Pacific every single weeknight. And that is the Tech News Today. This show is produced by Jason Cleanthes and edited by Kevin King. My name is Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you Monday.